Hi everybody, welcome to the latest round of GAA predictions. We've got a bumper weekend of provincial football matches in the Senior Championships. So I'm Lewis, Jack's joining me again today. How you doing, Jack?
I'm doing good, Lewis. How are you doing?
Not too bad at all, not too bad at all. I think it was an interesting weekend last time, eh?
Yeah, very interesting. A few interesting encounters, particularly maybe Dublin. Surprisingly that they didn't win by more, only the 9-point victory against Wicklow.
Yeah, I think we were both surprised by that. I think it just shows perhaps that Dublin aren't quite as sharp as they've been in previous seasons. It might give hope that maybe we're going to have a different Leinster champion next year, but we maybe get ahead of ourselves there. Yeah. But we've got a lot of interesting fixtures this weekend. Weekend kicks off with Leitrim against Mayo. On paper, there's only one winner. Do you think that it's going to play out like that on the field?
I think it will, yeah. I wouldn't hold out much hope for Leitrim in this one. They're struggling big time. Division 3 relegation. Gave a walkover to Fermanagh in one of the games because they didn't have a full 15, so that tells you a lot there. And I think Mayo, good league campaign, disappointing in the final against Kerry and only beat Sligo by a couple of points there last weekend, but they should be fine. I think they'll be comfortable in this one. Minus 20 handicap, I think, is what Boyle Sports. It's very high points difference, so it's hard. 20 points is a lot, but maybe Mayo will just be too dominant for them, and it might actually play out like everyone's thinking.
Yeah, from my take, I think backing them at that handicap, even though it's really high, probably offers more value than an outright, just because I think they're 1.01 in the outright, but I think you can unlock a price of around 1.91 with the handicap. So it is extensive, but I think there is a massive difference between the two teams. And even last week, Mayo weren't brilliant against Sligo, as you said. They only won narrowly, but they did have a healthy lead early on, and they did kind of take the foot off the gas a little bit. So I think they'll probably be a bit more focused this weekend. The only thing I'd probably say with it is we sometimes see some additional handicap lines added just before in the days build up to the game. So there may be a slightly more competitive handicap, maybe around the 17-point mark. I don't know, a bit around there. But definitely I'd consider handicap betting just because they are so superior to Leitrim and they've had such a tough time. Is there anything that stands out for you this weekend?
If we're going on along the similar lines of a game that could be comfortable, I think Clare and Tipperary is a similar one to that. Clare are coming in as the heavy favourites, I think, in the last two Munster finals, so looking to get to their third on the bounce, and they had a strong enough league campaign, beat Kildare and Offaly, but just missed out on promotion and score difference, whereas Tipperary were middle of the pack in Division 4 and kind of barely got over the line in their Munster quarter-final against Waterford, so I think Clare should be comfortable in this one.
I agree. I don't think I've got much to say other than that. I totally agree. I think they've had some, like you said, a good league campaign. A couple of disappointing defeats, but like you said, they beat the two teams that finished above them, and they were, like you said, neck and neck with them for the entire campaign. Emma McMahon played well for them as well. It was a real big threat for them. And it's just a question of how you back Clare. Obviously, again, they're heavy favourites, but Boyle Sports are running a minus 11-point handicap, which seems reasonable. And that unlocks a price of 1.91. I think that's probably where I'd go if I was betting on it.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think minus 11. I think minus 11 is about right. They should be comfortable enough, and I think that would be the one I would go with too.
Yep, I think that's pretty straightforward. I think my standout game, or the one that I think could be most intriguing, is Monaghan against Donegal. I think obviously Monaghan won the Division 2 title and looked pretty good. But obviously Donegal are the Ulster champions, so I think it's a really close game. They'll both be in the top flight next season. I think Donegal stood out from an attacking perspective this season, but as Monaghan, they scored, I think it was 190 points in their campaign, full of points and goals. And I just think with home advantage, although they are the betting underdogs, they might be able to steal a win.
Yeah, I think I've changed my mind about 10 times on this one now. I can't split them. I think Donegal, at the beginning of the year, I thought Donegal were to be real contenders for the All-Ireland. They're looking like that. But Monaghan have been really good this season, and they look like they're scoring for fun as well, which would be difficult for Donegal to stop them. So it's an intriguing game, kind of attack versus defence sort of thing. And I sort of veering towards Monaghan myself, but so Donegal will be the favourites. But if you're going for an underdog this weekend, I think Monaghan would be the one. Yeah.
I agree. I mean, I looked at the odds, and obviously their odds on, I think, Donegal, but I think you can get a price of around 4 on Monaghan, and I think that swayed me. I just think that offers a lot of value. As you say, that the firepower they have and the form. Donegal had a mixed campaign as well. Middle of the pack, never really stood out. Like I said, I thought at times they struggled offensively. So if you do fancy a bit of an outside tip, I think I'd probably go for Monaghan this weekend, especially at 4. I think it's good value, and I think they might just get the win this weekend.
Yeah. I think another game then that's sort of a tight one to call is the Connacht semi-final between Galway and Roscommon. What do you think about that one?
I mean, that is a tough one. That was next on my list of very tough games to call. Galway, I mean, they're a decent campaign. They were only just off top spot in the league, so they performed well. But obviously, Roscommon getting promotion, second in the second tier. They're a really good campaign, and they're in good form, so they'll be really confident. But obviously, Galway are the defending champions. They're normally really strong in the provincials. And obviously, they've got Shane Walsh, who's been really good for them. Very consistent performer, very consistent in the league phase. And I just think they may just edge what will be a very close game.
Yeah, I think so. Galway, this could be a big one for them now to kind of lay a marker down of where they're going to be at this year, because they can get to a Connacht final, and most likely, as we said, against Mayo, and next couple of games for Galway will probably test where they are as far as winning the All-Ireland goes. Yeah. And as you said, their attack is brilliant with Walsh, and I think Robert Finnerty's been doing well as well. Matthew Tierney is playing wing forward, sort of centre forward midfield. He's chipped in with a few goals, and I think Damien Comer might be back from an injury as well. So if they get them all back, Galway will be a tough one for Roscommon. But Roscommon, as you said, had a good campaign themselves, so they'll come in with a bit of confidence.
I think it's interesting. I think the market on this one, obviously, Galway are favourites. I do think that there's a handicap of just 4 points for -4 points for Galway to win. I think that's actually quite a tempting bet, because I do see them winning, but I don't think they'll run away with it. And I think -4 points, you can back them at 1.83 with Ball Sports. I think that's quite a reasonable bet, quite competitive, and that's probably where I'd go this weekend.
Yeah, that does sound very tempting as well. And their odds to win are relatively low enough, but not too low at 1.22. So maybe if you wanted to bet on Galway, you could do it as part of an accumulator or something. But so maybe as a standalone bet, it's probably a bit too low. But the handicap very tempted. They're -4. I think they'll be tight for a while, but Galway's firepower might just pull them away in the end to about a 5 or 6 point victory.
Yep, totally agree with that. Totally agree. The another big game that stood out is Cork against Kerry. Obviously, it's always a big game. There's a difficulty with Kerry. Kerry is so good in the provincial club, and obviously they won the title as well. So it's really difficult to ever back against Kerry, I think. But yeah, I think Cork will be good. They're always good in attack, Cork. They've always got some very good offensive players. They're always competitive, but they're so vulnerable at the back. Still finished with a -7 points difference in the league campaign. Finished 5th in Division 2. I just think it's too big a bridge to gap against Kerry.
Yeah, I think this one might be the game, maybe as scoring wise, it might be the game of the weekend, because Cork will score a lot, but as you said, they will concede a lot, and Kerry have a lot of firepower. So this could be a very entertaining game, and I hope Cork keep it up for a while and get close to them, as you said. And I know you mentioned earlier in the year you fancied Cork to go a bit far this year, so it's a difficulty for them, this draw, getting Kerry in the semi-final as opposed to maybe a one-off final. Yeah, but they will give it a go. They have a lot of attacking power themselves, Brian Hurley and that, so I can't look past Kerry. I think they're in tremendous form, but Cork will make it difficult for them for a large part of the game, but I think Kerry will pull away in the end.
I totally agree. I just think David Clifford in attack again. He had another great National League campaign. He's a threat, whether it's points, goals, he's always there. And I think the other thing that I was surprised by, even though Kerry have said they're always great in the province, and everyone's done like 85 of their 121 provincial matches against Cork, and historic head-to-heads, they're not always, obviously they cover a long, they can cover a long period of time, but when there's that level of dominance, it always sways you a little bit. So I think you can get them on a -9 point handicap around over 2 at Boyle Sports. I don't know whether that might be a bit strong.
Yeah, I was sort of thinking maybe for that one to actually put Cork at the +9 and try and because I think they will keep it. I think they're definitely not going to win. Well, I might shoot myself in the foot by saying that there, but I think Cork will keep it tight, keep it close with them, and I think +9 for Cork. There's a good chance that might happen as well.
Totally agree. It's actually a really good show. Obviously, it covers Cork, and it means you can still make a little return if they lose. So I think that's actually a really good show for the weekend. Is that your what's your biggest tip for the weekend then? If you had to pick one?
Yeah, I think if I had to pick me biggest tip for the weekend, I think it would be either Cork +9 or Clare. I think Clare is the one that I would bank on winning. But if I was to go with a nice tip, I'd say Cork +9. It's a nice price, and it'll make the game interesting to watch for you. I think as a better. And if I had to ask you, then what would be your sort of outside maybe pick for the weekend?
I think it's a small outsider, but I think we touched on it. But I'd have to go with Monaghan. I just think for any time where you sort of backing the team to win, sort of odds of 4, they've obviously got. It's not the highest probability of them winning, but I actually think their chance of winning is higher than the odds suggest. I think there's a lot of value there. I think home advantage. Yes, they played at different levels this season, but Monaghan are going up. They'll be in the top tier next year. Donegal were mixed, and the firepower of Monaghan, I just think, like I say, with the home crowd behind them, I just feel they could nick it. And I think if I was going to back a slight outsider this weekend, it would probably be Monaghan.
Perfect. So those are our predictions for a huge provincial semi-final weekend. Make sure to like and comment maybe which match you're looking forward to most this weekend. And check out our website, betingireland.ie, for more tips and predictions and bookmaker reviews. Thanks very much, Lewis, and see you next time.
Thanks, Jack. It's been a pleasure as always. Until next week.